just waiting for the Assistant Commissioner at New Scotland Yard to make a statement. It's coming up in a few seconds. We'll just continue to show you these pictures from Reading. 3 people, just to remind you, injured and 3 dead in that attack last night. And we know the Prime Minister has been briefed by the police, so now we'll wait to hear what they say about why they have declared this a terrorist incident. After a little bit of a delay overnight, they've come out in the last hour or so and confirmed that it is counter-terrorism police who are investigating this. A man being held in custody, a 25-year-old Libyan man, is being held currently on suspicion of murder. And horrific events that unfolded in this park in Forbury Gardens.
My name's Neil Basu. I'm an Assistant Commissioner and the National Lead for Counter-Terrorism Policing. I'd like to read you a short statement. Yesterday, Saturday the 20th of June, a short time after 7 p.m, a man ran into Forbury Gardens in the centre of Reading and attacked members of the public with a knife. He left 3 dead and a number of people needing hospital treatment. This was an atrocity. My deepest sympathies go out to the families who will be mourning loved ones today after this horrific act, and to everyone who has been affected by it. We're working with the coroner to formally identify all those who've died and to inform and support their relatives. I'd like to praise the actions of Thames Valley Police colleagues who responded immediately, and they detained the attacker nearby, unarmed and incredibly brave. I also want to pay tribute to the bravery of members of the public who provided emergency first aid at the scene. Counter-terrorism policing officers also attended the scene immediately, and they have worked through the night very closely with Thames Valley Police. And this morning, I can formally confirm that this was declared a terrorist incident at 08:30 as a result of those investigations through the night. A 25-year-old man was arrested yesterday on suspicion of murder, and he remains in custody. From our inquiries undertaken so far, officers have found nothing to suggest that there was anyone else involved in this attack, and presently we are not looking for anyone else in relation to the incident. However, counter-terrorism detectives work closely with the security services and will work closely with Thames Valley major crime colleagues, and we continue to make inquiries to ensure that that is the case. Our priority will always be to ensure there is no outstanding threat to members of the public. Although the motivation for this horrific act is far from certain, counter-terrorism policing have taken responsibility for leading the investigation. However, we're clear that it was not associated in any way with the Black Lives Matter protest, which took place peacefully earlier on in the day, and which had concluded some hours before this attack took place. We will be working round the clock on this investigation to get justice for those killed and injured. And I would appeal to members of the public who may have witnessed the attack or have information that might assist the investigation to contact the police. I am incredibly grateful to the 41 witnesses who've come forward so far. But if you have not yet come forward, please call us, and particularly if you have any footage of the incident. And on that point, can I reiterate calls for the public to show restraint, and please don't share images and footage of the attack on social media. We are asking CSPs to do exactly the same thing. The pandemic has made very strange territory of our familiar places, and I appreciate the concern this attack will obviously cause. But let me be clear, there is no specific intelligence to suggest anyone attending crowded places is at risk. But I would ask the public, please continue in your daily lives, but be alert, not alarmed when you are out in public. If you see anything suspicious, anything at all that makes you feel suspicious, then please report it. Please remain vigilant. As I said, we're going to work round the clock investigating this incident. We will issue further information as it's confirmed. Thank you.
So that is Neil Basu, Assistant Commissioner at New Scotland Yard.
We're not looking for anyone else in connection with this incident. That's clearly a main line of inquiry at the moment, and we will continue working on that. As soon as we have further information, we will give that out.
And was this person known to authority and was under surveillance? And has the terror level increased as a result of what happened yesterday?
So we're not going to talk about the individual who's currently in custody because it's a live investigation. But what I can say at the moment, could you just repeat the last part of your question?
Has the terror risk increased as a result of what happened yesterday?
No, the terrorism threat in this country remains substantial. Now, clearly, for the public, that means an attack is still likely, and that's why we're asking the public to remain alert, not alarmed, and vigilant when they're in public. Thank you.
Well, that's the end of that short briefing there from the Assistant Commissioner Neil Basu at the Metropolitan Police. And let's just sum up what he was saying as we continue to look at those pictures from our helicopter of the scene in Reading there as the police investigation continues. And Neil Basu was saying that they're not looking for anybody else in particular at the moment. Nothing to suggest that anybody else was involved. They're not looking for anybody else in connection with what happened in Reading. One man is in custody. At 8:30 this morning, it was declared a terrorist incident. And just telling the public to be alert. There is still a terror threat that remains substantial. Be alert but not alarmed. And they're saying that there's an around-the-clock police investigation into what happened, and appealing for more witnesses. He said they've already had 41 witnesses so far who've come forward, and he was very grateful to those witnesses who have come forward, but also asking anybody else who witnessed the attack or the aftermath to come forward and talk to the police. Let's go back to Daniel Sanford, our Home Affairs correspondent, who's at the scene in Reading, and some interesting information there from Neil Basu there. Daniel, in particular, saying that they're not looking for anybody else at the moment.
Yeah, I think there were two critical things in that statement. The first one is that they don't at this stage think anyone was involved. As we were previously discussing, it looks like this is a lone individual who may have been radicalised and then decided to take out this action on their own. You'll have to forgive me, I've got a police helicopter overhead at the moment, which is probably making it difficult for you to hear me. And the other critical thing is that the threat level hasn't changed as a result of this attack. The threat level remains substantial, which means that an attack is likely, but it hasn't been raised to severe. And I think that's another clue that this is believed to be an isolated incident. But of course, an incident that the police still need to understand fully. And that's why, yet again, the appeal for the public to come forward, not to share videos on social media, but to provide videos to the police, to come forward evidence. They want anybody who saw anything before or after or during the incident yesterday to give evidence to the counter-terrorism detectives, because in the end, these investigations are built on forensics, but also on eyewitness evidence. And very, very often the police struggle to get enough people to come forward and explain exactly what they've seen. And so that's a key part of the request from Neil Basu, Assistant Commissioner Neil Basu, in his role as the head of counter-terrorism policing in the UK.
Daniel, many thanks indeed. That's Daniel Sanford there, our Home Affairs correspondent who's in Reading.